We're gonna start. So thanks for joining us for the Parents and Caregivers as Partners conference. My name is Joe, and I am a social worker at the board. I've been working at the board for the last 4 years, but I've been in the field for at least 10 to 15 years. I worked as a CYW in the past. I did my placements in CAS, so I have a lot of breadth of knowledge about a lot of this. But one of the things that we notice as you go down the slides are that there's a lot of issues around social media, especially after COVID, right? So I think part of the reason why I'm doing this workshop is because to arm parents with some knowledge around algorithms and what kind of things like in a brief overview of what kind of things could happen online for your children that that could happen for your children and some ways to control that traffic, okay, the online traffic. And I'll let you, Ashley, to introduce
Hi,
yourself.
everyone. So my name is Elsie Suleiman, and so I actually have a very different experience than Joe. I was a teacher for about 8 years before changing my career into social work. I love being in front of the class, but I wanted to be helping kids in other ways in the school system. But I've done a lot of different work around community. A lot of my social work experiences around community supports and different community organizations. Um, so one of also the other piece is I'm a mom of two who's also having to navigate this very interesting world of social media and internet use with our children.
Okay.
So we're just going to quickly go and do the land acknowledgement. The land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. I also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by the Treaty 13 signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit and the Williams Treaties signed with the multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so as our title suggests, we're trying to empower parents in the digital media age, and we're gonna sort of focus on social media today. So the purpose of this workshop is to increase awareness around digital media, social media, not necessarily gaming in this particular case, but we'll kind of touch upon it a little bit, and its influence on our children.
So the objectives today is, to talk about discourse and messaging. So messaging innovating young people today and, how those messagings are coming through on social media. We're going to be looking at the algorithms. So increase the likelihood of algorithms working for you as parents. And then we will also be touching on how to formulate strategies to maintain a healthy balance in the digital media usage.
Okay. So today, there are a lot of there are a lot of messages that young people get online. And I in my observation as a social worker working with young people, I noticed that a lot of dependence towards social media has started around COVID. And the messaging, if you look over any kind of social media, often is gendered. So for girls, it focuses a lot on their body image or impossible beauty norms, right? We know that even Kim Kardashian, she doesn't have the body or the looks that she had in her Instagram posts compared to her real life, how she looks in real life. So there are impossible standards that put on, in my opinion, girls today. And this could definitely affect mental health. And I see that as I take on cases within schools and, some of the comments that are made by other, within peer groups of girls. So I think that the online messaging is very gendered and at the same time, it's all encompassing. So like even for boys, like there's a lot of focus on I guess what they say, like clout chasing, trying to get as much money as possible, quickly as possible, taking a lot of risks, and this idea of traditional male. What is this idea of being male, right? And this how our old traditional norms of being a male, like a breadwinner, authoritative, etc., has been slipped into social media and its messaging. And I often find that very concerning. Although there's some lot of like, not to mention there's a lot of positives when it comes to social media. However, there are some dangers that I feel like parents need to be aware of so that you are better prepared to have these conversations in the future if these things become relevant. Was there anything that you want to add to this, Ashley?
Yeah, I think definitely you've touched on a lot of important aspects. Other pieces about online messaging that I worry about, and we often see with the work that we do within schools is safety, right? A lot of, there's possibilities of grooming. Right. Online friendships and relationships that children are making, it's almost normalized to have a social media friend or have a friend over the internet that you've never met. Just the other day, I was talking with, a couple of colleagues and friends around this new idea of hopping on a TikTok live, right? And having hours of long conversations with people. And it is through conversations and connections that we connect with these people, right? And oftentimes when you do
Yeah.
go on these TikTok lives, you don't see a lot of people who come on with their actual cameras. So you are hearing their voice, and in the mind of a child or a younger person, even adults sometimes, when you are talking with someone for so long, you build a connection, and that connection becomes a bond, a friendship, like, and that's where the worrying piece comes in of around grooming, right? Who is your child friends with? It's also very similar around gaming, right? I just recently found out, a couple of months back that the way when I grew up, gaming was you had those little devices, and you played individually, or you had a two-player, with a sibling or a friend that came over. But now gaming is to the point where it's connected worldwide. So you've got children playing with other children that are across the world, right? And are they playing with children though? Right? These are the questions that we need to be asking. So now they have a friend named, ZX1, who's apparently from the UK, and they connect and they play every Saturday. A relationship has been built. Who is this person on the other side, right? So there's a lot of different, there's a push to normalization around building relationships, which can be good, right? We need relationships as humans to grow, to learn from each other. It could be a beautiful thing, but then it could also be a safety piece as well.
Thank you. So according to studies, this is what we know about social media use and, just the general, when we talk about social media, we're talking about YouTube, we're talking about TikTok. There's a general link to increased mental health challenges for people or youth, children who use social media, and especially around anxiety and depression. There's already studies where they discuss some of these things, and as we go down the slides, we'll discuss which social media platforms our children are most likely to be part of, and how many hours they use per day. So like I think that we'll have more discussions around that. And how Ashley kind of pointed out early on in regards to online relationships, as our children grow older and older into their adolescence or when they become teenagers, they become more peer oriented, meaning that they become attached to rather than their parents, they become more attached to their friends. And this is one of the most predictable motivations for our children. Like for most humans are social beings and they want to be part of a community, they want to be part of a group, and they want to feel like they belong. And just to go back to the piece around social media provides some of that. And so this is not us saying that social media is bad, we should never use it or anything like that, but it's for us to be aware of where our motivations for our children come from, and to be aware that, hey, look, I know that it could be used for benefit, social media could be used as a benefit for our children because it could be a source of almost infinite knowledge and education. So there are some um, there are situations that happen within social media, and I'm sure that some parents here have experienced with their own children, are the pieces around cyberbullying and how this, like one of the risks that could happen when using social media. And often what the studies have suggested or showed is that the kids do not actually go to adults when they're bullied online, and they usually end up suffering in silence. And one of the reasons, there's several reasons why they don't approach the trusted adult or safe adult or parent or caregiver in situations like this is because due to shame and embarrassment, fear of retaliation and escalation, lack of trust in adults in general. And this happens as, we talked about the piece around attachment. They become more attached to their friends. They start to kind of distance themselves from adults a little bit, and the desire to be autonomous is because they want to handle their own things, right? Um, and the perceived ineffectiveness of reporting. And to a certain degree, this is true because what if the fight, or for example, this is an example that I experienced last year where after school time, kids would fight each other in McDonald's or wherever they choose, and they would record that. And it will get into the hands of the principal or another safe adult, and often they don't know what to do with it because it happened outside of school, right? But the school does their best to kind of connect with parents and make sure that the parents are involved in this matter. But even after this is reported, the bullying may not never stop online, or these kind of situations, I guess these viral videos that they're trying to make, for example, when they're recording each other kids fighting each other, um, these things don't go away. Like it doesn't seem like, even though the principals get involved, even the parents get involved, it's very hard for them to detach from these things. Um, so Ashley, do you have anything to add to that?
I think you covered it, yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so we're going to the next one.
So social media, as I think I touched on it a little bit earlier, social media plays a big role in online sexual abuse and exploitation. Um, Oftentimes, as I was talking about, our children are making, are connecting and creating relationships with people whom we are not able to vet as parents, right? The traditional way of making friends was you go to school, you hang out at the playground, you find a friend, you bring your friend around to the house, and parents had a sense of peace knowing that the friend is right in front of them and is in fact another 9-year-old just like your child, right? But now what's happening is we are making friends. Children are making friends with people whom they have never met, right? Based on, they played video games together for 6 months every Saturday. Now they have a friendship, right? And that's where the slowly the grooming piece comes in. As you've probably seen on the news, on other social media platforms as well, yourselves, or maybe even heard personal stories around parents sharing, their children being exploited, right? So they've been asked, this friend or this person that they have connected with, could be a boyfriend now who turned into a boyfriend, but they have, a connection. can you send me pictures about yourself? Can you send me a picture of yourself? So now the child is very trusting of this person, sends, some pictures, and they are now being blackmailed, right? There's a blackmailing piece. There's the, and sometimes it doesn't even have to be with people that they don't know. It could also, cases that I've worked with in schools, sometimes it happened within the school, right? There's a friendship, a trust has been built, and now children are sharing pictures that, shouldn't be shared, right? Because of a trust that they have for this person. One of a recent case I worked on was a child who was trusting of a friend, sent, pictures that are nude, and now these pictures are being circulated, right? Other case that are worse is those pictures being used as a means of blackmailing, right? You have to do this for me in order for me not to release these photos, right? And then what would happen is, this is the piece where we're now able to connect, social media use, the abuse, the exploitation, to now sex trafficking. Right? Now I have these pictures of you. If you don't want if you don't want your family and your friends seeing these pictures that you sent to me, you have to do this for me, right? Where now the child could possibly be trafficked.
Okay. So as I was kind of alluding to earlier around popular social media platforms and the use, how many hours they use. So these numbers are from the US, and because this is one of the most latest kind of stats that we have, and also I think that we could in general, I believe that when the United States coughs, Canada gets a cold, right? So it's kind of, I do feel that a lot of the things that are happening in the US are happening in Canada to a certain degree or not. And it seems, and I'm sure you see it for yourself. I mean, everyone knows, I would imagine that everyone here knows about YouTube and everyone here knows about TikTok, right? Or Instagram. And it seems like Facebook has fallen kind of to the wayside a little bit, but the big portion of a lot our teenagers use YouTube and TikTok today. So you might be wondering, okay, so now that we know that this is a problem, how do these platforms pull our children in to the social media, and what kind of messaging do they like? How do they determine what kind of messaging they give to the children? So the next slide will be a video, and there might be some advertisements, so I apologize, but it will be a 4-minute video. I found it very, very informative. So I would love to share it with you today. And if you can't hear it, please let us know, and then let's see, we'll just double check to see if you could fix that. Okay. So this was done by the Washington Journal. Where's the Post?
Revolutionary technology, real-world results. That's SAP Business AI. Be ready.
Okay, has anyone else noticed that your For You page has been a little too accurate lately? It hasn't been things that I'll Google or I talk about. It's been thoughts.
TikTok knows everything about us.
Hold up, don't scroll. Let me ask you something first. Can someone please explain how this algorithm works?
TikTok users often wonder how the world's fastest growing social network seems to know them so well.
TikTok's secretly listening to us while we're watching videos? I don't know.
The answer to how this app gets to know you so intimately is a highly secretive algorithm, long guarded by TikTok's China-based parent company, ByteDance.
TikTok has been so successful in terms of implementing their algorithms.
TikTok's algorithm can influence the thinking of US youth.
To understand how it knows users so well, the Wall Street Journal created over 100 automated TikTok accounts, or bots, that watched hundreds of thousands of videos on the app. We also spoke to current and former executives at the company. Officially, the company says that shares, likes, follows, and what you watch all play a role in what TikTok shows you. We found that TikTok only needs one of these to figure you out: how long you linger over a piece of content. Every second you hesitate or rewatch, the app is tracking you.
Just want to quiet the noise.
Through this one powerful signal, TikTok learns your most hidden interests and emotions and drives you deep into rabbit holes of content that are hard to escape.
One more advertisement and maybe 2 more minutes.
Revolutionary technology, real-world results. That's SAP Business AI. Be ready.
My happy guy. Oh, just a happy.
The TikTok experience starts the same way for everyone. Open the app and you'll immediately see an endless string of videos in your For You feed. Take this new user, a 24-year-old from Henry County, Kentucky. TikTok starts by serving the account a selection of very popular videos vetted by app moderators. Is this person religious?
Because I still have a purpose and you still hold a plan for my life.
Do they want to participate in viral dances? Are they feeling down lately?
Just remember, I loved you once, and that love goes for a friend, family, or any relationship.
What TikTok doesn't know is that the 24-year-old from Kentucky isn't a person at all. It's one of the bot accounts programmed by the Wall Street Journal. Let's call it Kentucky 96. We set up these accounts to understand how TikTok figures out your unexpressed interests. We assigned each bot a date of birth and an IP address, which told TikTok their location. None were given a gender. We gave each bot or user interests, but those interests were never entered into the app. The only way our users expressed their interests was by rewatching or pausing on videos with related hashtags or images. Some were into extreme sports. Others were interested in forestry, or dance, or astrology.
I'm not the babysitter, I'm not the parent.
Or some other topic.
Keep scrolling if you hate animals.
For all our accounts, we found that TikTok draws users in at first by serving a wide variety of videos, many with millions of views. Then, as the algorithm sees what you respond to, the selection of videos and the view counts can get lower and lower, with fewer of them vetted by moderators to see if they violate TikTok's terms of service. We reviewed our experiment and its results with a data scientist, an algorithm expert, and Guillaume Chasleau, a former Google engineer who worked on YouTube's algorithm. He's now an advocate for algorithm transparency. He says TikTok is different from other social media platforms.
The algorithm on TikTok can get much more powerful, and it can be able to learn your vulnerabilities much faster.
In fact, TikTok fully learned many of our account's interests in less than 2 hours. Some it figured out in less than 40 minutes.
On YouTube, more than 70% of the views come from the recommendation engine. So it's already huge, but on TikTok, it's even worse. It's probably like 90-95% of the content that is seen that comes from the recommendation engine.
Okay. So I made a mistake early on. It should have been, it's not a Washington Journal, but it's a Wall Street Journal. This was from there. Okay. So moving on. So now that hopefully you have some understanding of algorithms and how they work, what we propose as a team or for this workshop is that for parents to control I guess the feeds or the recommendations of what your child gets prior to them getting TikTok. So for example, if you have a child that already has TikTok and you're like, you know what, I'm not really sure what they're really watching. I want to have some control over what they watch. This is one way to control how you could control what they consume online, right? So here, what we could start off with is first creating a new account for TikTok, and then creating or typing in any hashtags or popular TikTok hashtags specifically for kids. So when we designed this, it was more for kids around 4 to 11. However, these keywords could change based on the child's age. So TikTok itself algorithm relies on hashtags, and obviously from what they said, how long the person views things, what they click, how long they stay on a particular what's it called, feed, and etc. So it is I believe it's very important for parents to take control of these things so that whatever their kids see is at least more curated and controlled, right? So we create a new TikTok account for your child, perform searches using search terms, and click on several videos from each search result, and then see the feed and monitor history feature in browsers. And if you're to look at TikTok in browsers. And you might be thinking, well, like, my kid's tech savvy and I have a hard time managing these things. I could show you in this I can't really show you for TikTok because I have to show you my phone, but we could definitely do this for uh, YouTube accounts, because you could definitely if you have iPads that your kids use, or if there's a family iPad that you use that you have control over, or parent control over, you could definitely control how much. Oh, there's another person. You control what your child sees and what that recommendation could look like. So same kind of process here. YouTube is owned by Google. So in this case, you have to create a new Google account for your child, perform searches using some of the key terms. So these key terms, I just looked it up online. Like you could ask ChatGPT, you could ask Google. You could definitely look for all these use search on YouTube with these keywords, or subscribing to YouTube after searching for example, if your child's 4, they love CoComelon, look for CoComelon and subscribing to CoComelon, right? So now we'll move on to a live demonstration of that. So I could show you how easy it can be for you to navigate through or control the algorithm within YouTube at least. Okay, so prior to this, I created a new account on Google for the purposes for showing you how to set this up. So does everyone see this? Can you see this okay, Ashley?
Yeah.
So when you first create an account, so I created an account called empowerparents70@gmail.com, and it only took less than 2 minutes if you go on Google. And then you could start feeding. Now that this is a fresh account, there isn't any recommendation because the algorithm doesn't actually know. So why don't I start plugging in some of the recommended, or some of the things that were on that sheet. So for example, let's look for CoComelon nursery rhymes, and then just kind of take a look, and then we could, let's say CoComelon nursery rhymes. So you could even subscribe to it, take a look at it a little bit, and then you go on and search for another one, right? So you could put Sesame Street full episodes. And when you search for Sesame Street, oh, look, there's more content here, and you could subscribe. So this is one way of controlling what feeds you get because of what kind of subscriptions you have on the account. So there's PBS Kids. So you can subscribe to that. If you feel like it, you can just click on it and just kind of look through. You can look through the content yourself, because YouTube also measures how long you look at your content. So I'm gonna go a little bit more faster here because there was several places that I wanted to subscribe to before we could demonstrate how we could control our feeds and what our feeds look like once this is fed into the algorithm. So Nat Geo Kids. Oops. Peppa Pig. So this could be done on your iPad, on your desktop, or on your laptop, as long as you have a Gmail account. Let's see. Oh, Netflix Junior, sorry about learning science. Super simple. And you can just subscribe. Oh, there's like even Mr. Rogers, if we into that. If you want your child to start looking. Oh, it's part of PBS Kids, so that's fine. Maybe some mouse learning videos. Subscribe. And then if you're not sure what content to subscribe for, you could just type in, for example, learning videos for kids. And then now you notice that, oh, educational videos for kids, and just click on some of them because this will feed into your algorithm for this account.
Yeah.
Right? And then just kind of take a look. If you don't want to look at the ads, just go back and then just click on something else so that the algorithm is tuned for learning, not necessarily for other. And then the thing is that we could talk about it later, but if you notice down the road that, oh, I noticed that there's some other videos that I didn't necessarily want, at that point you would know that your child has been looking at something inappropriate, right? If your child is savvy enough to, delete history. I mean, if they do delete history, at that point you could just confront your child, like, why did you delete history? Because that already makes us suspicious, right?
Yeah. And then there's also, just to add, I know with YouTube in the last few years, there's been a lot of issues around videos that look like when you're looking on the history, or it's like a Peppa Pig video. So to you, you're just thinking, oh, they're watching Peppa Pig, but it's actually dubbed, what is it called? It's like dubbed over. So it's other people that took the cartoon that looks perfectly innocent and then dubbed it over and are actually saying some inappropriate things.
Right.
That has been a problem in the last few years, and that's what's been happening. So what you could do as a parent is just audit, go in and check and make sure that, they are actually watching Peppa Pig and not something that's been dubbed over, that's been created by people. And when you do see those accounts, you can block them or remove them from your child's algorithm. One of the things that, younger children and families with younger children used is kids YouTube, because they actually do that for you in a way as well.
Definitely. And if at one point you're like, you know what, I'm not sure if I'm into a particular video, there's always options to deal with it. You could report it, right? You could definitely report it. And then if you report it, those kind of feeds, you will have an option to not see those kind of videos, right? So there's ways to kind of work with the algorithm rather than against it. Okay. So I think I put in enough things to feed into the algorithm to see what my feed looks like now. So now, after feeding the algorithm, this is the types of videos that you will be seeing that's recommended. Look at how it populates. The shorts are now populated. All the videos that you see seems child appropriate. And this could be done without even having a child lock, right? If you have problems with child lock, if you have problems with just navigating I guess the logistical parts of it, is like, how do I work this thing within that browser? If you don't know how to do that, you could just log into that account that you control and then just keep feeding the algorithm so that it's less likely for a child to see anything else. Okay, so yeah, like now that it's very child related things. Sometimes you might have advertisements like this, so you probably don't want these kind of things. So you want to block and report ad, right? There's options for that. So you could block ad so that at least you could teach the algorithm to give appropriate advertisements for your kids. Okay. So having shared that, let me go back to the PowerPoint. And this pretty much concludes our workshop because this is a short one.